military parade in North Korea. Amidst the roaring crowds, the grand displays of military might, and those thunderous chants, stands a young woman. She's just got this faint, almost innocent smile on her face. But whatever you do, do not let that mild expression fool you. This isn't just an ordinary onlooker. No, this is Kim Yo-jong, the younger and only sister of North Korea's supreme leader, Kim Jong-un. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to break down exactly how this seemingly quiet figure quietly wove a web of power to become what many experts now call the most dangerous woman in the world. All right, let's dive right into it. You know, for years, the world fundamentally misunderstood her. When Kim Yo-jong first started popping up in the inner circle around 2011, the global media pretty much just viewed her as a helpful sister. She was frequently seen standing by, holding documents, or, famously, holding an ashtray for her cane-smoking brother at international summits. But as the data and historical records show, this whole image of the smiling assistant was a highly deliberate illusion. It was meticulously crafted to keep her true influence completely hidden in the shadows.
So, here is the absolute crucial takeaway. We need to shatter that innocent sister trope right here, right now. Geopolitical experts and critics globally have actually reached a chilling consensus. They outright refer to her as the most dangerous woman in the world. The explicit warning from people who study the North Korean regime day in and day out is that under absolutely no circumstances should she be underestimated. She's a woman who knows exactly how to disarm an enemy with a smile, but, and this is key, she's equally capable of striking with absolute ruthlessness whenever the regime demands it.
Moving on to Section 1. A secret Swiss childhood.
So, Kim Yo-jong was born somewhere between 1987 and 1989. She grew up in a completely separate, insanely luxurious private compound in Pyongyang alongside her brothers, totally hidden from the public eye. Then in 1996, her father, Kim Jong-il, sent her off to a school in Bern, Switzerland, to get a European education. She eventually made her way back to North Korea in the year 2000, and get this, the world didn't actually get its first real glimpse of her until 2011. That was when she was standing beside her brother at their father's funeral. Talk about staying under the radar.
The dramatic irony of her time in Switzerland is just staggering. Operating under the fake name Pak Mi-hong, she lived in a seemingly ordinary city apartment, went to a regular school, and even had basketball posters on her bedroom walls. She was perfectly playing the role of a completely normal kid. Actually, scratch that. It was a masterclass in deception. Because the reality was far darker. That ordinary apartment? It was constantly monitored by North Korean state officials. She was surrounded by undercover bodyguards and state machinery the entire time she was there. She basically spent years acting like a regular student, perfecting the art of a completely hidden identity.
Next up, Section 2. Mastermind of state propaganda.
Taking those intense skills in secrecy and applying them to a heavily male-dominated regime, her rise, after earning a computer science degree by the way, was incredibly rapid and highly calculated. In 2012, at just around 23 years old, she became the tour manager for the National Defense Commission. Now this meant she controlled her brother's travel routes, his logistics, and his highly sensitive security. Fast forward to 2014, state media officially named her the vice director of the Propaganda and Agitation Department, and just 1 year later, in 2015, she was the de facto chief of the entire department, literally running the show. She was the one holding the reins of the massive propaganda machine, deliberately working to build her brother's public persona so it would mirror the revered strength of their grandfather, Kim Il-sung.
And it didn't take long for her to weaponize that propaganda on a global scale. In February 2018, she became the ultimate charm offensive. By attending the Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang, she became the very first member of the North Korean royal family to step foot on South Korean soil since the 1953 Korean War. That's a massive deal. She dined with South Korean leaders, she delivered secret letters from her brother, and she used that camera-ready smile to project a remarkably soft image to the global media. But experts note this was a deeply calculated trap. It was an elaborate performance designed to totally disarm the international community.
Which brings us to Section 3. The Iron Lady Unleashed. Well, as you might have guessed, that diplomatic facade didn't last. By the end of 2019, nuclear talks with the United States had completely failed. Then, in April 2020, this incredibly tense situation unfolded. Kim Jong-un suddenly just disappeared from the public eye. Rumors went absolutely wild through global intelligence agencies and the media that the supreme leader might actually be dead. A heavy, terrifying silence fell over the regime. No one knew what was going on.
And guess who shattered that silence? Yep, it was Kim Yo-jong.
proving just how deeply ruthless she is. While her brother was MIA, she issued a fiercely personal statement threatening South Korea, literally calling them a frightened, barking dog. A couple of months later, in June 2020, she ordered the explosive destruction of the South-North Liaison Office building. She reduced a symbol of ultimate diplomatic hope to absolute ash. We also know she's a master of the regime's bloody politics. Sources link her to the 2013 execution of their own uncle, simply for not clapping enthusiastically enough at an event. Let that sink in. And recently, she hasn't held back against global powers either, officially calling the US president an old man with no future. She enforces power with explosive destruction and deep, deep fear.
Her rhetoric is equally venomous when it comes to state control. When she talks about North Korean defectors, people risking everything to flee the country for political survival, she wields her words like terrifying weapons. She publicly refers to defectors as human scum and dirty insects, openly threatening that they're going to pay a horrific price for their betrayal. Honestly, her public anger often exceeds even that of her brothers. Let's look at Section 4, the next Supreme Leader.
40. That is the number of official statements Kim Yo-jong has issued recently. Now, historically in North Korea, issuing state-level, formal statements is a role strictly and exclusively reserved for the Supreme Leader, no one else. By stepping up as the official mouthpiece of the nation and acting as a key member of the highest decision-making commission, she has undeniably cemented herself as the de facto number 2 in the regime.
Because of this completely unprecedented power, the expert consensus is startlingly clear. As Tae Young-ho, a former North Korean diplomat and defector, plainly puts it, if Kim Jong-un suddenly dies, the new leadership will go to Yo-jong. While Kim Jong-un does have children, reports indicate they are way too young to rule right now. Consequently, the immediate heir to this heavily armed throne is, without a doubt, his sister.
When we look back at history, we've certainly seen female rulers who governed through fear, right? Like the 7th century Chinese Empress Wu Zetian, or Europe's Queen Mary Tudor. But there is a catastrophic difference that sets Kim Yo-jong apart from anyone in the history books. She possesses that exact same capacity for absolute, ruthless rule in a closed society where no one can speak against her, plus she has access to the nuclear button. She is a leader who actively and openly threatens other nations with nuclear war.
Which leaves us with this final, incredibly unsettling thought. We've seen her order buildings blown to ash. We've seen her ruthlessly manage state executions. We've seen her issue these fiery, venomous threats to the world's superpowers. So, I leave you with this question to ponder. If Kim Jong-un disappears tomorrow, is the world truly ready for a female dictator with the nuclear codes? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and remember, always keep questioning what you see on the surface.